is broken, and we are your consecrated hosts. I'm Father Jeff, consecrated by Holy Orders.
I'm Jonathan, consecrated by baptism.
And here we are on a Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Not a Monday.
A fat Tuesday.
It is. It is Mardi Gras. So we decided that we would, well, there was just a lot going on this week and weekend, so we didn't have time to get it taped on Monday. So this is now Tuesday's show. But we wanted to round out our ordinary time,
Yeah.
and move into our Lent time.
Yeah, we wanted to get a show in before Lent.
We did.
Get it.
We don't want to leave you hanging. We don't want to leave this week without seeing our jolly faces.
Yeah, I know I've talked to at least one person in the last 3 weeks that watches, and I didn't want to leave them hanging.
There are one or two folks out there who watch. Hello.
I didn't want to say, well, what do we do with Lent? Lent's here, but there's no morning show.
We need to talk
I don't
about
know anything anymore.
So, Jonathan, what'd you do on Valentine's Day Sunday?
Sunday. We did the traditional Valentine's Day.
What is that?
We went bowling as a family.
Oh, yes, bowling. There's nothing more romantic.
Hey, if you can't find love in a bowling alley, where can you find love?
Oh, very good.
But yeah, we went bowling as a family. I think since Joshua was little, I think I've always wanted to use Valentine's more of a celebration of family. The love, because it's the love between Genevieve and I that have created this family, and so that is nothing more than.
I'll buy that.
Yeah, so
that works.
So it's
well, that's good, and this is definitely a time to be indoors as opposed to outdoors. These 2 weeks have been insane.
It has, and the kids had never been bowling before, and they had tons.
Really?
Yeah.
This is the first time bowling.
First time ever bowling.
Oh, that's exciting.
Might be the last time. It's expensive to go bowling.
I haven't been bowling in. I don't even know when though. I can't think of the last time I've been bowling.
Well, there you go. Maybe we should go.
I think it was in Hardington. So it's been at least 4 or 5 years, at least, and it was probably a little more than that. So
Genevieve and I think it's been about 4 or 5 years for us too.
Wow.
And it's amazing how bad you can be after that long.
I was never good. Never really, didn't hone those skills, and then you feel it the next day. You're like, oh, that arm, shoulder.
I'm still feeling okay.
Really? Did you just shove the ball down the thing that way?
Yeah, the bumpers.
The little granny.
No, they have automatic bumpers, so when it was the kids' turn, the bumpers just go boom. They pop out.
These high-tech bowling alleys these days.
And that's why it costs so much.
Wow, I know. It's not just throw a ball down the lane.
But no, then we went out.
They probably had an automatic thing that set all the pins up, too.
Didn't have to pull the string.
Exactly.
Yeah,
good.
No, it was a good weekend, good family time, and yeah.
Good. All right.
Kept it simple.
And now it's Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras is French.
Laissez bon temps roule.
Oui, oui.
Let the good times roll.
That's
a Mardi Gras phrase.
It is. Mardi Gras, which literally means Fat Tuesday. Marti is Tuesday. Gras is fat. It's Fat Tuesday. Because it's that day when you stock up, because tomorrow, Ash Wednesday, is day of fasting.
You get nothing.
So you got to stock up, which, in some sense, doesn't make sense, because I always find when I eat a big meal...
Expand your stomach.
And you fill your stomach up, and then when your stomach gets empty, then it just feels more empty than it did. So it sounds like it's supposed, if I eat more, I'm stocking up for the fast. But I think it actually works in reverse. Yeah. I don't think it actually helps.
Our bodies don't quite work like camels in water and elephants, or not elephants, bears that hibernate, where it's like you eat a lot and then slowly you won't get hungry. No, we eat a lot and then we want more.
And then you've expanded it. Now I've got this empty wasteland in my belly that needs to be filled. Another title for this feast, if it's a feast, I don't know, Carnival. Mm-hmm. A lot of those South American countries, especially in Italy and the Mediterranean countries, Carnevale, Carnival. The word carnival also is everything to do about Lent.
Carne.
Carne, vale. Vale is the word for goodbye, and carne is the word for meat. So it is the farewell to meat. So carnevale, carnival, is literally a word that means farewell meat. Because back in the day, back when Lent was like Lent, hardcore Lent, before Catholics got soft, you abstained from meat all 40 days. It wasn't just on the Fridays of Lent. Right. It was the 40 days of Lent, no meat.
Yeah, so
the great fast.
Get all the meat out, because they didn't have these great preservatives in refrigerators.
Right.
Or
all your meat.
Frigid temperature.
So there's all kinds of traditions depending on the country you're in or whatever. Some places, like it's a big pancake day. Mm-hmm. You basically, what do we have in the cupboards? What do we have in the fridge? Let's just throw it all into a pancake and make pancakes. So that's a big tradition on Mardi Gras. Having a big feast of meats. That's a big thing. All the parties, when you're down in the South, Louisiana, New Orleans, Texas, along the Gulf, Mardi Gras is big.
It's huge down there.
It's a big deal. And I don't know what it will be like this year with the Arctic blast that has reached its tendrils down to the Gulf.
I think they said the reason this Arctic blast hit is because they canceled most of the Mardi Gras festivities. So.
Well, that was true because of pandemic. So we have two things going on. Because, if you want to, Mardi Gras was already a time where you spread communicable diseases. Pandemic, probably all the more. And that's the thing. When people take it a little too far, it gets a little crazy.
Well, it's kind of what our society and culture does with everything, right? St. Patrick's Day. It's like, oh, St. Patrick.
Irish.
Woo, let's get drunk.
Exactly.
St. Patrick would not condone those actions.
That would not be something he would be about.
No. He might like green beer. Because it's beer.
I think he probably drank mead. Yeah, probably.
None of that beer stuff.
None of that watered down stuff. Something hearty that's in liquid bread that's going to keep you going in the cold. But we are ready. I can't believe it's Lent already.
It was just Christmas.
I know, literally. The flowers are holding strong. So I thought today might be a good day to talk about what people, there are just so many facets of Lent that we can take a look at. Some of the things that we're going to see and hear, some of the practices that we do, maybe some of the disciplines that go along with Lent. So
you're going to help me figure out what I'm going to do for Lent?
I will tell you what you're going to do for Lent.
All right.
Here we go. I'm good at giving penances, Jonathan. So first of all, Lent... In English, we're like one of the only languages that call it Lent. Because I think we talked about this before.
We did. Yeah, the Quaresma, the 40 days.
The 40 days, yeah. Quadresima in Latin. And then in all those other Romance languages that are based on Latin, the season is just basically, it's the season of 40 days. It's the 40 days.
If the Romance languages don't fancy it up, why do the English have to?
Well, English, and I don't know where it came from, but it was just basically, Lent. It's a word that means spring. Because it's going to be spring. So there's some hope in that. Especially...
I am hoping for spring right now.
Especially when you're in the polar vortex and the Arctic tundra, you are looking forward to spring. So Lent really is a time, it is a springtime when hearts should be breaking open and new life should be coming forth. Yeah, that's a good... Yeah, we can deal with that. So it's not... It works.
And when you frame it like that, hearts breaking open, harden not your hearts. Our hearts are hardened.
Exactly.
And so it is a breaking heart should not be carefree and painless.
That's right. So Lent, that's what we call it. Spring, 40 days. Purple is violet is going to be the predominant color of. That's blue from a distance.
It probably does look. It's purple.
There are some purple strands in there.
There are.
Yeah.
At Mass on Sundays, I will be wearing purple.
Will you be attired appropriately? I also will be wearing violet.
Well, it'll look a little strange if you weren't.
I know.
People pay much more attention to you than they do at me at Mass.
I think that's true. I think that's in general true.
I hope so.
So yeah, violet is the color for basically two reasons. Number one, that penitential color, that darker, saddened color, and secondly,
not bright like this.
Yeah,
this is far too bright.
Far too bright, especially from here. Hurts my eyes. The other reason is because it ties it to the passion of Christ being robed in that purple mantle and mocked as the King of the Jews. So that purple kind of has that dual, it's got a royalty, but a royalty that's almost a mocking royalty, and then that penitential nature. So it is a privileged time because there's a gravity to it. What else? Oh, when you go to church, you're probably going to be noticing an environmental difference. That when you look around, the flowers should all have been removed from church. That in fact they're forbidden. The Roman ritual forbids flowers decorating the altar during Lent.
So if you go to your church and there's flowers there, throw them away. Actually, no. Don't do that.
Right, yeah, there shouldn't be flowers. What you might find instead are other things. So you might see, the brambles or the branches. You might see the rocks. Some places use kind of the desert sort of things, like the succulents. So you might see the cactus or whatnot there adorning the altar to kind of give you that sense of wilderness. Christ out in the wilderness, that desert experience, whatever. Just all little things that might help frame the season. You might just see it just might be barren, that there's just nothing there. The flowers and the plants have all been set aside.
Well, and the hope for any decoration in the worship space is more to bring the physical into the spiritual.
Yes.
And so it's a preparation for what you're going to encounter spiritually.
Right.
And so that is why you remove the flowers, and that's why the decorations matter.
Yeah. Is
because we are physical people. And we've talked about that numerous times, but it's
absolutely.
If you pay attention to the liturgical, as basic as the colors, two is the smaller details of little things that are placed around potentially. It brings us there, and if we can take all of that and enter into the spiritual part of it, it's a more complete picture for us because that is how we experience things.
Exactly. So it just creates an ambiance, if you will, that tries to express what spiritually is being expressed. So the instruments of the Passion may be on display, so there may be crowns of thorns or crosses or nails or whatever. I typically bring those things out in the last 2 weeks of Lent during Passion Tide, so we can talk about how Lent breaks down here in a second. But that's probably the biggest thing you're going to see when you come into church. Back in the day, they used to drain the holy water fonts and even put sand in them, just as a stark reminder. That's been expressly given the finger to, don't be doing that. People have a right to the sacramentals to use holy water as a reminder of our baptism, especially in Lent, the coming to new lifeness. So Now some places haven't put water back in their fonts because of the pandemic. They've just been emptied since last year. We've had water since the fall, I think, here at St. Charles. So the water will continue to be there. The holy water will be there for your use or not use as you like it.
Because it's good to strip away some things, but if you start stripping away everything, then where do you stop?
Well, that's an access to grace.
Right,
and
using
holy
grace.
Water, that is access to grace. So why am I taking away a grace? Flowers are not an access to grace. They're a symbol of eternal life, of new life, of blossoming, of, all of those things. But they are not a symbol of. They're not they don't communicate grace.
It is holy water, and when you bless yourself with holy water,
yes.
You are literally blessing yourself,
arming yourself against the temptation and evil and all that good stuff. You'll also, or you should, I've found very few places actually follow this prescription, but I find it quite beautiful, that musical instruments are supposed to be silenced during the season of Lent. That instruments may only be played, and that's like in the Roman ritual. Musical instruments are silenced during Lent, and may only be used to support the singing if necessary. So if you've got a weaker cantor or a more complicated song or whatever to help people sing, but really you strip everything down to just the human voice. And that's it. The instruments are gone, and they're brought back again for the celebration of Easter. So
it's supposed to be a little bit more jarring at Easter. It's like, oh, we're triumphant.
Exactly. Like you really do begin to experience death. And if, as the season of Lent unfolds, you will see a gradual dying until you get to Easter and it all comes back to life. Not only do the instruments disappear, and we already talked about the environment changing a little bit, but that first half of Lent is robed in violet and all of this kind of stuff. The midpoint of Lent, Laetare Sunday, kind of like Gaudete of Advent, the rose-colored. So there's a rose that blossoms there in the middle of Lent. Flowers may be used on that Sunday. Musical instruments may be used because it's like this anticipation. And then the very next day, or the next week, Passiontide begins. So the 5th and 6th weeks of Lent are traditionally known as Passiontide, the time of the Passion. Mm-hmm. And that's when all the crosses, all the statues, all the images may be covered and stripped away so that when you walk into church, it really feels empty. And there is a barrenness and a death.
Right.
And then on Good Friday, the altar is even stripped. And everything just dies. And then you come back on Easter, boom. And we're all back to life again.
Yeah, no, I took a almost haunting picture last Good Friday. It was after everything we'd cleaned up for the night because we were well into quarantine at that point.
Yep. We were live streaming all that stuff.
It was a dark church, and I used the longer exposure on my camera.
I don't think you showed that to me.
I don't think I did, but it is just... I'll look it up and I'll post it for everyone because it is just... It looks like an old abandoned church.
Yeah.
But that is, once again, how we are supposed to feel at that point because...
Right.
How did the apostles feel?
Yeah, the death of Christ. I mean, and the church is so intimately tied to him that there's this dying. So Lent really wants to bring us into the death and resurrection. Death into the resurrection of Christ.
But it is beautiful how the church gives us Laetare Sunday before we enter into that Passion time. Yes. So it's just like, okay, I know you've been struggling a little bit and we've backed off some. Here's a little bit of hope before we take it all away.
Before it just, I know. It's that little bit of brightness before the dark. Darkest before the dawn.
It's true.
So speaking about the difficulty, the penance of Lent, it's a time when a lot of people think about the penances that they're going to be doing. So two things, there's the universal penances, and then there's the personal penances.
Right.
So the universal penances, Ash Wednesday and Good Friday, kind of the bookends, those are days of fasting, which means that anybody, oh boy, I should have refreshed my memory on this one. I think it's from their 17th or 18th year until their 59th birthday.
Is it not younger than that?
Not for fasting.
Not for fasting, okay.
Fasting is basically adults. Adults fast. And so what a fast means is one regular meal on that day. And if you require it, 2 smaller meals may be taken to maintain your strength.
So as
and
to
there's
not
no
pass
eating
out.
between. Exactly. Especially if you are a manual laborer, or if you have, if you don't want to have a drop in your blood sugar or whatever. So take care of yourself. Don't beat yourself up. So if you need it, great. And then no eating between meals, except for liquids. So you can have juice, you could have milk, you could have water.
Red Bull?
You could, but on an empty stomach, that might not be a good idea.
A Red Bull on any stomach is good for me, but I am. That will be one of the things I am trying to drop.
I think Red Bull is meat. It's got it in the name, Bull.
That might. You might be onto something.
But that speaks to the abstinence. So on Ash Wednesday and all of the Fridays of Lent through and including Good Friday, then all Catholics age 14 and up abstain from eating meat.
Right.
So no, the flesh of birds and mammals are what's considered meat for our purposes. And you can feed on anything else, cheeses, nuts, legumes, beans, amphibians, reptiles, shellfish, fish.
Which reminds me,
You can eat all those things.
our Knights of Columbus are having a fish fry still. It is all drive-through.
It is.
Go to our website for more details.
Exactly. You can order, you can pre-order and prepay, and then just get in the drive-through lane and pick it up. We've got a couple different options there's the fried fish option, there's the baked fish option, and then there's the combo option where there's one of each, and then there's the kiddie meal option.
Yeah.
So you got 4 things that you can choose from. I believe they're also serving some beer and margarita thingies.
Yeah. Adult beverages.
Adult beverages are available. So support the Knights of Columbus, and you don't have to do any cooking. It's good.
It's very good.
So you don't have to eat fish. I mean, that's the thing. You don't have to eat fish, but you do have to abstain from meat on those days. And that's a universal penance. It's like, we're going to do this together.
Right.
But you may then also, during Lent...
just like giving up sweets, the sweets is a universal penance, I think, for Lent.
A lot of people do that.
But it is...
A lot of people do that.
And that leads us a little bit into the personal penances, which don't have to be the universal. And I think there is the power of strength in numbers with the universal penances, but also if we're all giving something up personally, we are suffering, even though really we're not suffering by not eating sweets.
Right. Right. Yeah, I like to approach Lent as a kind of a measured time. It's like, okay, I'm really not going to do much with desserts or candies or sweets, I'm going to refrain from alcohol. I'm going to, just not indulge in those things on the days of Lent. That's just, you just kind of back off and make the whole season. I try not to eat really between meals throughout Lent. It's just that, again, probably the stuff that you should be doing every single day of your life because it would be good for you, which is why Lent is always a welcome occasion, because it causes us to strip things down and get back to maybe what we should be doing.
Yeah. And I think any of those things, if it's easy for you to not do. So like for me, 95% of alcohols, I don't like the taste of. So if I say I'm not giving up alcohol for Lent, it doesn't really do much.
It's not really your penance.
But it should be something that is a reminder to you. So even if it's not difficult, but someone like Diane leaves out food every day, and it's like, I'm not going to eat from that food. And so every time I go to
in
reach
the office,
for it, in the office,
little snacks or whatever.
You go out and you're like, oh, nope, I gave that up for Lent because I want to unite myself to the suffering of Christ and grow closer to passion, death, and resurrection of Jesus.
And some people find that the giving up maybe isn't as much as I need to be more proactive and do something.
Yep.
Like, I'm going to, for my penance, I'm going to do the Stations of the Cross every week. Or I'm going to pray the daily rosary. Or I'm going to, maybe this is the time where I want to plug into helping out at a soup kitchen or a shelter or whatever. And says, I've never done that, so here's my opportunity to do that.
Right.
I think, like, for example, Jonathan, if you were going to do a penance, it might be that I am going to clean my desk off at the end of every workday so that I have a nice, clean environment.
You didn't say we were expecting
his
for miracles.
Office. Oh my gosh!
It looks much better by the end of today.
Like Oscar the Grouch's garbage can. If you were to open that up and crawl in there with him, that is Jonathan's office.
The whole office?
Yes, that's what the inside of his garbage can looks like. I'm convinced of it.
I'm going to post a picture. I'm going to put a whiteboard with the date on it. Post a picture of my office. And I will let you be the judge.
After I go through and sprinkle all the banana peels and everything around. Well, we all have things that we can, do or not do.
That's true.
Give up or do something, that's a thing.
Or do a little bit of both. I think it's because it's not just about giving up, but it is about being active in the faith and active in pursuing Christ in the faith. And so I think whatever you're able to do, obviously, but even with the age requirements,
right?
If you are 63 and perfectly healthy and have no issues,
fasting.
It's not a bad idea to fast because it's not about being the faith is not about being legalistic.
Right. It's
more of just they put 59 in there just so that they're making sure that people aren't unnecessarily hurting themselves.
Exactly.
And so fast what you can and do things that make you remember Christ and remember the season so that we remember why we're in this life.
Prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. Those are those three disciplines, those spiritual exercises that fasting creates an emptiness that then hungers to be filled, to be fed. It hungers for something. Almsgiving, what I have given up, perhaps now I have the resources to put to some other good. So if I drink a pop every day, or if I drive by Starbucks every day, or if I, go into Casey's and get a donut every day, or whatever, I'm not going to do that. I don't do any of those things, but if one does, I'm not going to do that because then I'll have that extra $3 every day that by the end of 40 days, I have a substantial chunk to put towards something good.
Yeah.
Where can I support? So almsgiving. Or if you do that with your time, maybe I spend time watching TV, a half hour watching TV, but I could do a half hour instead of something else. Maybe I'm going to sit down and write a letter every day to someone with that 30 minutes and tell them how special they are in my life. Wouldn't that be a good thing? Wouldn't that be a good thing?
I will be waiting for my letter, Father Jeff.
It's going to take me 40 days to come up with that. And prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. Prayer. And of course, prayer. This has got to be a time of building a relationship with God. I mean, if that doesn't happen, then Lent was not spent very well.
Yeah, I think the other two should flow from that prayer.
Yeah.
If it's not rooted in the prayer, then people give up things all the time because it's just like, I want to be healthier, so I'm going to start doing the intermittent fasting.
Yes.
I want to be healthier, so I'm going to stop Red Bull, which I'm hopefully trying to stop Red Bull. You can hold me accountable to it. If you see me drinking Red Bull, slap it out of my hand. If we're outside. If we're indoors, I don't want to have to clean it up. Actually, if we're indoors, slap it out of my hand, and then I'll have to clean it up, and I'll be like, I shouldn't have been drinking it, because now I have to clean it up.
Exactly.
Fasting, one of the things that I was talking to my wife about recently is when I'm fasting for myself, it is really easy to just be like, well, nope, just give me the Red Bull. I am tired. I need caffeine. And the Red Bull tastes so good. So just give it to me and I can do it again tomorrow. However, there's two different ways of thinking about it that are very successful for me. If I am fasting for someone else and saying, I am fasting today for my son Joshua, that he can grow up and, for his purity.
Yep.
It's like, I want that Red Bull, but I want Joshua's purity more. That helps so much because it is so much harder to give up on someone else than it is myself.
That's true.
And then the other is, do I want this Red Bull or do I want Jesus more? And thinking it that way. Well, I want Jesus more than I want this Red Bull.
Put it that way.
Then it's just like, well,
right.
I'll take Jesus, and this Red Bull can go to hell.
Yeah, you got to give that spiritual realization to it. Otherwise, like you said, it's not a New Year's resolution where I'm going to exercise every day, or I'm going to get back on my diet, or I'm going to whatever. Well, that's good, and that may help you physically or emotionally or whatever. But in the end, does this thing that I'm doing get me closer to Jesus? So if you're going to give up sweets and candy, fine. How does that get you closer to Jesus? And if you can't answer that question, then you're giving up the wrong thing.
Yep.
Or you're doing the wrong thing. That whatever my penance is, should somehow draw me closer to the Lord. So we offer lots of different prayer opportunities during Lent as well.
Yeah.
There will be Stations of the Cross, increased confession times. We've got the consecration to St. Joseph going on.
Right.
We've got, every
The
place
Lenten
is going to have
Bible
different
studies
things.
starting up.
Lenten Bible studies. There's all kinds of things to plug into and to be a part of. Find something, a daily meditation even, that you can get online. There's so many good things out there. Prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. Make this a fruitful Lent.
Yes. Yeah, if you do not come out of Lent with a better relationship with God and the larger hunger for Christ, then we did something wrong.
Yes. But it's not ultimately about you and what you're doing. It's ultimately about God and what He's doing, and we just need to clear everything out of the way.
Tear our heart open.
Break open that heart so that something can get in.
Fill that emptiness.
All right, Jonathan. I think it was your job to bring the king cake, so let's go have some of that.
Every time.
Yum, yum. Have a good week and a blessed start to your Lent. We'll see you next.